this is the agenda for the first unit. It will not be entirely PPT, so it will be mix of PPT as well as system walkthrough. So at several places, we have screenshots and PPTs. This is basically, the PPT is just basically to give us direction and what are we covering, because this is a planned course based on our experience of so many years. And just to keep, things connecting and go slowly at start with all the basics, and then slowly we'll gradually cover the advanced topics. So basically we'll be using these slides, which includes, all my, steps, and basically, for each slide, at several slides, we'll find some attachments. Okay. So these attachments may not open here, but these are the attachments. Basically, you will find them here. Okay. Because sometimes, we insert them into the PPTs, but they don't open because they get corrupted when you download them. So you know at which slide which attachment to use, and you'll find all the stepwise screenshots there. Okay. So for example, assessment and evaluation, this is where you have your question answers, and we will also have a separate slide for the take-home assignments. Okay. So now, all right. So this was about what are we going to use. Then how are we going to build the warehouse? So we will take a case study as an example. This is a warehouse layout which we are going to build right from scratch. So in this warehouse, this is a bill of material. These are the parts that we are going to build. Okay, that we are going to build in this warehouse. So basically, it's a very simple warehouse with all the integration with all the modules. It will cover inbound. We will cover as part of just one. Highlighted. Okay, fine. So we'll cover inbound. So we will get in the parts from suppliers, store them into the rack storage, and then from the storage we'll be supplying them to production. Okay, we can also get them to a general storage. So we have different types of storages into which we will get the parts. So this will cover the inbound aspect, how to place parts into different types of storage. Then from here we supply parts to production. Supply parts to production. So through this we'll learn how the outbound strategies work for production. And then the production parts, will receive them into the bulk and the pallet storage. So we understand how to do inbound into the bulk and the pallet storage. And then we'll cover outbound, where we'll pick these parts from these areas. Okay. This is where the final product is getting stored. And then we will pick them, pack them, stage them, load them. We'll also have the yard management for handling the trucks. So this is the layout which we'll be referring. So these are the naming conventions that we'll follow. So we'll create a new warehouse. In this warehouse, we'll create these storage types. We set up the strategies. We have some configuration in build. When we copy the warehouse, we get those configuration. But there are several configurations which we need to do based on the physical nature of the warehouse and the type of warehouse, the type of processes. So we'll cover all those processes and typical configurations that we do for each of the processes. But these will be best learned, when you have an example. So EWM or any warehouse management is best learned, when you physically try to visualize the movements or the warehouse. So all our discussion and process scenarios will be based out of these warehouse. So if in case we decide, okay, hey Johan, let's understand deconsolidation, then we will activate a process, move it to deconsolidation, then move it here. Let's understand scrapping. Let's create a new area for scrapping, and so we'll create a new storage type here, and we'll discuss what can be the possible scenarios with scrapping. Okay, so any addition scenarios, we'll be basically tweaking this warehouse, and we'll be adding new scenarios here. Based on our experience, we may come across scenarios. You might have come across scenarios in your projects, and we would like to go through them together. So we will use this warehouse structure basically to do some add-on processes as well. My expectation from you guys that whatever configuration we are doing for that particular week, you complete them by end of the week. You just follow me. You can do your own exercise, but initial couple of modules, you follow me, get your warehouse ready, structure ready, and then if at all you want to simply follow whatever the processes I'm going through, you're free to do that. You're free to use the warehouse which you have set up in the system together, or you can create your own warehouse to your own integration. I'll leave it to you, but whatever topics we will cover, please do them regularly, because slowly we will be going through the complex topics. We are going to build up many new scenarios, and the backlogs will keep on accumulating. So, and basically all topics are linked to another. So if you miss, let's say, master data, I'm explaining some master data in detail. If you miss that, it may stop you with your understanding on the processes. Okay, so I'll take a pause here. I've been talking a lot, sorry. Any questions so far? Any queries, guys?
It's look pretty very good. But just a quick question on two things on the sequence of storage control and the PPF. Because when we will be doing inbound and outbound, right? So yes, the first one we can do the manually. We can create a warehouse task and all the manually, right? But then the automation come in picture. Now the PPF, if we keep that PPF at the bottom, then the link. That's what I was thinking. And same thing for the storage control. Yes, I do agree. We can have the first, when we execute, we can do the manual put away. But after that, in the process, because those topic in your agenda, I see at the bottom.
What are we? Okay. So, for example, assessment and evaluation. This is where you have your question answers, and org structure should be set up, and our integration would be set up between ERP and EWM. So, at the end of this unit, the warehouse should be created, should be integrated, and we should be ready to start maintaining the master data for the warehouse. Okay, so we'll understand what are the org units, their relationship, one to many, many to one, what are possible assignments. We'll discuss them. So org structure wise, we just have one org structural element here, warehouse. Okay, but physically it's a warehouse, but how do we map it? As we basically map it as ERP warehouse and EWM warehouse. How we do that mapping, we'll discuss that. Then there are a lot of settings: ALE setting, RFC setting, logistics system setting to integrate the warehouses. We'll discuss that, and basically the deployment type of deployment will basically the type of deployment will control which settings are required. So we'll discuss based on deployment which settings are required and which settings are not required. And then after integration, we'll do a quick test to make sure that the integration is completed. Okay, so while we are doing integration, it's not only about the technical settings. So there are, when we are going to integrate the warehouse, there will be some settings like basis settings, purely technical in terms of system integration. There will be some functional settings also. So while we are going through this unit, we'll execute some functional settings. For example, creating plant as customer or vendor, or assigning a vendor to a plant, or there are some activating delivery split for a warehouse. So basically there will be some configuration. These are the configurations that we are going to cover here are mandatory configuration and required before you start using EWM. So at this unit is not only about org structure, but as part of integration, we are also going to do some functional configuration. Okay. So we'll complete that configuration, functional configuration as well. Basis settings, they are done at the start of your project. So basically, through this we'll also discuss how we go through a journey of through an implementation project. So the first day you join a project, you do this activity, you create a warehouse, you do the integration, then you slowly set a few master data, and then keep on executing or testing one or the other processes. So when we are executing, or when we are doing this integration, let's say you're going to into a greenfield, or greenfield is a good example to understand integration. So let's say it's a blank system. How the basis team, what are the expectations from the basis team to set up the communication between ERP and EWM? So we will be covering those settings, but we cannot execute those settings because the basis team has to do that. Plus, we are already using a test system, which is already set up in EWM. So that settings has already been done by the basis team. So we just have to go and review them. Okay, I will explain you at those relevant points. We are not supposed to change any basis settings, okay, because they may impact the overall integration, or these are client level changes which will impact all the warehouses or people testing, the people who are testing their warehouses or their scenarios in the test system. Okay, so we need to be very careful we don't break anybody's settings. So there are few, we have controlled that through access, but there are few areas where you will have access. I'll explain you where you don't have to touch or change anything. Okay, whereas within the warehouse, functional config, plant, store location, you're free to do your own configuration. Okay, so
Just quick one on there's a one set activation activity, right? So just for the information, who own that activity? Sometime when in a greenfield you do BC sets were not active. So it is something basis need to do it, or it's functionally to.
the basis team has to do it, but as functional, we have to identify the right BC sets. So depending on the version, the version you're working, so and depending on the system that you've got from SAP. So SAP gives you SAP has been changing a lot on their approach on what they give to a system, to a client, when they basically hand over the sandbox system or a test system for them, or a new system for them. So there can be, you can buy a company modules. You can buy, for example, industry specific solution where you get build industry specific scenarios, or best practice scenarios. And then over and above, if you need something else, for example, in SAP's best practice, its labor management is not there. I'll give you an example. So then you have to find out the relevant BC sets of labor management, see if they are applicable for your version. Like if you're working on S4 1809 or decentralized EWM, you need to make sure that they are valid for you. You have to understand what it is going to activate. Do that in the development system, and after testing, then you can go through with that BC set. So yeah, just to answer your question, it has to be done by basis team activation part, but as functionals, we have to support them. We have to give them the right BC set by doing some research.
Yeah. So can you spend some 5-10 minutes when you cover this, in the system?
Yeah. I think we will
Thank you.
activate few BC sets as well. Okay. So org structure, you all are aware that in SAP we have org structure, company code, then we have plants within the company code, and within the plants we have store location. As all of you are from logistics and procurement background, you might be knowing the org structure tells store location. Okay. Now we have store locations. Okay, within store location, we have warehouse. Okay, so basically, when we use warehouse management, the store location is still there. Okay, so if you don't use warehouse management, somebody asks you where is the product stored, it is stored in a store location, or it's at a stock is managed at store location level. But does store location disappear as soon as we activate WM or EWM? No, it doesn't disappear. The store location stays there, and we assign a warehouse. Now the products get stored into the warehouse. Okay, storage location. So you can see a warehouse, you can see bins, you can see products stored in a bin, but you don't see anywhere storage location, right? So in an IM solution, the entire building where you're storing, the entire complex is a storage location, right? But now when it comes to warehouse, the entire building complex is a warehouse. Store location, we don't see any physical store location. It becomes a virtual org element. Okay, because the storage is done at a warehouse level. So we have warehouses, okay, and the store location concept still remains, because within the warehouse you can also split stock based on store location. For example, take this example. This plant has two store location. You may want both. Let's say SLO1 is a finished product, is a raw material store location. SLO2 is a finished product store location. You can have both of them into the same warehouse, and then within the warehouse also you should be able to identify stock of each store location separately, or you can store it in a separate warehouse. So for example, store location SLO2 of finished product warehouse, finished product store location, we assign a warehouse W02 separate warehouse, which we may be an external facility a few miles away, or the own company's facility which is a few miles away, because of the space constraint, you're using a different warehouse. Okay. So basically, technically in system, plant and store location combination, one combination of plant and store location is assigned to a warehouse. Okay. So you cannot assign one plant store location combination to more than one warehouse. Okay. It's a unique assignment to a plant store location. So one store location plant combination can only be assigned to one warehouse. You cannot assign plant SL, plant PL01 SL01 to W02 if it is assigned to W01. Okay. Then you can assign a warehouse, okay, to a plant store location combination or to a different plant store location combination belonging to the same company code. Okay, so here plant PL01, PL02 store locations are assigned to a warehouse W02. Okay, it's not that warehouse should only be assigned to the same plant. You can also assign warehouses to a different plant store locations. Okay, so physically we take an example, the external warehouse where we are storing the parts, or overflow warehouse where we are storing finished products of PL01.
Hey, ZaranTech now offers SAP corporate training. That's right. Train your workforce in SAP with our comprehensive program. We offer customized courses, certified trainers, and hands-on labs for both individuals and businesses. Our standout features? Bespoke training, fully configured servers for practice, in-house materials, and a dedicated LMS. Plus, get session recordings and 24/7 support. From functional to technical modules, we have got it all. Choose ZaranTech for SAP training and watch your team excel. Learn, upskill, succeed with ZaranTech.
That is basically warehouse which belongs to plant PL02, where they are storing raw materials, okay, and finished goods and whatever. Okay, so warehouses can be shared between different plants of the same company code. Okay, now we can also have warehouses shared between plant store location belonging to different company code as well. Isn't it logical? Because you have a warehouse in a region or distribution center. There you can store, let's say a company have two products. If we talk about home appliances, a unit makes, one unit of the company makes refrigerator, the other makes microwave. In your distribution center you would want to store both, right? Because they are eventually different companies, but they belong to the same client. They belong to the same customer. Okay, so a warehouse can be used to store products of different companies as well, different company codes as well. So we can also extend further and have a company. You can also think of a company like a DHL. There is another company in UK, Synchron. They have their own warehouses. They just have warehouses and they rent their warehouses and the warehousing facility. So they possibly a DHL in the same warehouse. It can store product for Tesco. It can store product for Asta. Yeah. So these kind of warehouses, can also we'll talk about them in our deployment option. You can also have these kind of warehouses where they are storing parts for different customer as well. So warehouses, basically, it is possible to store products, same ERP, different ERP, same customer, different customer, same company code, different company code. All possible combinations are possible in one warehouse. You can store and map products for different customers. Okay. So here, to start with, we will basically have one plant. Okay. One few store locations in the plant, and we'll create one warehouse. Then as in when we build scenarios, we'll create more plants, more store location, learn about STOs and different types of scenarios. But to start with, keep it simple. We will create our own plant, store location, warehouse, and then we will first go through the entire setup in that warehouse for one plant, and then we'll see how we can also expand it to another plant or plants of another company code. Okay. So any questions on this slide? It is straightforward. Are we clear so far?
Look, fine. Just for my understanding, I have seen in EWM, like whatever, there are mostly they do two storage location, RFS and AFS. right? So these two storage location are being created, but it is not mandatory to have two storage location. I can have one storage location, and I can receive, and as well as I can seal from the same storage location.
Yeah, that's correct. You can have one store location as well.
But then why SAP is being like look like it's a best practice to have two storage location, one for receiving on a dock and one for sale? Is there any?
We will discuss that in availability group. What is the benefit? It helps us in planning in MRP, because your stock is not available the moment you do good receipt. So we will discuss that. It is recommended from a planning perspective. Okay. No question. Shall we move on to the next slide?
Yes, I have one question here. See, actually, for example, we take STO process. See, in STO, actually, we have one scenario like virtual plant, actually. See, for example, we are delivering the product from one plant to another plant. For example, we are delivering the product from Australia to New Zealand. We create a virtual plant in Singapore due to taxation purpose. We create a plant in Singapore, and but system-wise product goods deliver from Australia to Singapore and Singapore to New Zealand. But physically, product move from Australia to New Zealand. Such type of scenario is applicable for EWM.
See, EWM is about managing your stock. So where do you have EWM? You'll not have EWM at Singapore's virtual plant. You have EWM at Australia, where you do pick, pack, goods issue, and then you when you receive in New Zealand, you'll have a warehouse there where you receive the parts and do the good receipt put away. So EWM is about receiving the part. The whole planning, the whole logistics planning is done by the shipping or the transportation team. They will have to create a delivery. The delivery has to be created from Australia to Singapore to New Zealand. So the deliveries have to be created, but but your products will move from here there to here. You have to do a virtual GR also in Singapore and a goods issue. So Singapore will not have a storage location. Sorry, will not have a storage location assigned to warehouse. So these kind of scenarios, generally you don't have it's a cross docking, but you don't use cross docking. I would say if Singapore would have been a EWM managed, then it becomes a classic cross docking. But in this case, it's not a cross docking scenario.
Okay.
So Singapore, you have to through the shipment or the transportation, you have to through your routes, you have to plan this outbound, inbound, and then you have to do some automation, or somebody has to manually do the receipt and goods issue at Singapore.
This is quite a common scenario, like people do. But here the question is, what about the pallet number traceability? Will it get lost? Like in this case scenario, whatever we did the GR in Singapore, and then from Singapore we again make another STO and push it to intercompany and push it to the Australia. Now what happened? The pallet which moved from there, so either because system will not have that, right?
Or system will have that. Yes. See, we basically in STO we use a SPED. You split. You transfer all your handling units from Australia to Singapore to.
Okay. It will come in the inbound. Okay, got you. Yeah, fine.
Yeah. Okay, then.
Yeah, you can proceed.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we have discussed these points. I'll come to what we are going to set up to start with. We are going to have a warehouse. Okay. Now, here you can see there are two warehouses. Okay. One warehouse is ERP warehouse. One is EWM warehouse. Physically, there is just one warehouse, but in EWM, the same warehouse has a 4-character code in ERP. So when I say ERP, it means, ECC. Okay. Now in S/4HANA, we have ECC as well as EWM in the same system. So it is still early stage. So maybe, SAP would make it one. Just change ERP side, ECC side, the warehouse into 4 characters, but they haven't done it yet. So all the deliveries and other places, the warehouse is of 3 characters, wherever you see warehouse. So basically that 3-character warehouse represents your 4-character warehouse. It's created in EWM as 4 character. They're assigned, they are mapped to each other. So when you say W01, it basically means EWM warehouse of WH01.
Okay. So, sorry to interrupt. I have one question here. But that decentralized and S/4HANA EWM, both the topics you are going to cover, right? But even though there's a minor changes between the decentralized and S4, you are going to cover all the topics, right, in this session?
Yes, not this session, but in training.
Entire training, sorry.
Yeah, we will be executing decentralized scenarios as well.
Okay, proceed.
Okay, so we are going to use, so what org structure elements we are going to use, we are going to do that listing shortly. Okay, but we will be creating our plant. I'll be telling you which company code to use. So basically, I would recommend to use company code 1000 or whatever is a company code in the test system, so that you don't have to do all the finance settings. The company code which I'm going to propose you to use, that will be supported by our finance team. So if there are any issues, they will sort it out. Plus period and closing, everything, maintenance activity of that company code, periodic maintenance activity, the finance team does it. So it's an active company code and it's well supported. So I recommend you to use the company code which I'm going to share with you, so that you spend less time in troubleshooting, finance related errors. Okay. So company code, we are going to use the one which is given to us by our finance team. In that company code, we'll have a plant. We are going to create our own plant. We'll copy an existing plant. Again, which plant to copy from? Standard SAP template plant. I'll let you know which one to copy. And then we are going to have 4 store locations, or rather 5. So basically, for testing all the scenarios for the warehouse that we are going to implement, we have to take 5 store locations. So ROD stands for receiving on dock. Okay. AFS stands for available for sale. I'll quickly go through the layout and explain these store locations to you. Yeah. Production as a separate store location, finished product as a separate store location, and I've created a store location which is IM managed. This is for the consumable and office supplies. So
this is we are talking the best practice from SAP point of view, right? That's what the recommendation.
No, this is the one. This scenario is, sorry, this store location, SAP will tell us, to do a ROD and AFS. This is for the scenarios that we are going to cover. For those scenarios, we will use these store locations.
So Ron, please add on the flavor of your experience in your last 10 years, the implementation, what you have done. Okay.
That's added. That's why I'm saying.
Yes.
So SAP will only tell you 1000 to 1000. I'm adding more store location. I'll come to the reasoning for each of them.
Yeah.
So it's not best practice. Oh God, I don't know why it's not going. So let me go to a layout and explain you why so many store locations. Yes. So here you can see. So basically, I'll split this layout into the store location. So whenever we are getting any stock, okay, they are in this area. This is called as ROD, receiving on dock. Okay. Once we do the put away, the store location is AFS. So what is AFS store location? This is AFS. Okay, available for sale. We have a separate store location for, production, prod. Okay, another store location for finished products. The finished products are stored here. So basically, when we do the warehouse processes, the products are moving. ERP should be updated with store location information as well. So the moment I supply parts to production, the store location of that part changes from AFS to prod. Okay. Now, once you implement a project, you have to be very clear with the store location definition. So once we implement the project, there is this change. Bringing this change becomes very difficult after a warehouse has gone live, because warehouse is continuous. They work 24/7. Any change becomes a really big change, or has a lot of prerequisite, lot of planning and lot of struggle. Plus business is also impacted. Okay. So some of the warehouses they don't even give you downtime, because time lost can never be regained, for them, because they work 24/7. So basically we have to be very clear when we map these store locations. The reason SAP recommends ROD AFS, why we are having 2 store location when we are receiving the parts, we do the GR here, Okay, we may do a repacking of the parts in the deconsolidation area. We may be doing the quality. Before that, we may be unloading the stock from the trailers. So basically, the good receipt is done at this stage. When the truck comes, you scan the pallet, you do the good receipt, and then you take the pallet to a GR area. From there, it can go to quality, deconsolidation, or it can directly go to the warehouse bins. So here, the stock can be kept into GR area for several hours. In some companies, a couple of days as well. Okay, so the moment you do a GR, the stock in ERP gets updated in a storage location. Now, if I do GR in ROD, the stock is not available. When the production needs the material, they are only going to check in AFS, something which they can pick. They cannot pick a part which is at the door, or we don't want them to pick a part at the door or in the GR area or being deconsolidated or under quality. So that's why, only when we place the part into the bin, this I'm telling you for a bigger warehouse. If it's a very small warehouse, you just do a GR and put away in 5 minutes. You don't need this kind of a setup. But if you're doing unloading, there are 10 doors here, 20 staging areas, really big warehouse, and it takes time for them to come to the bin. The production, when they need a material, they should not come across a situation that the stock is not there in the bin. They'll simply say, why the delivery was created, why the staging request was created. Okay, so if the part is not here, when the production order is released, it should show as a missing part. Okay, only when we do the put away, it should be shown as available. So this is the reason for having two storage location on the receiving side. We are having another storage location for production. Why? Because some companies at a production level, they would like to track the work in progress inventory. Okay, so during your workshop, make sure the business is aware, okay, how this storage locations are mapped. You can have different storage location. Explain them the traceability part, because all your IM reports are at storage location level. So if they are already using some IM reports, for example, they want to see, it's very easy to check stock and at a storage location level, total value of inventory at a storage location level. But when it comes to warehouse, then they have to do some download of stock, accumulated, download stock of production area, storage type, accumulated, then do a VLOOKUP at your finance table and come at a value. So there are some manufacturing units which are more interested, like what is the total WIP inventory. The work in progress inventory is also, in some companies it is also showed in their balance sheet. So they are get audited by the companies as well. So the companies which is production heavy, they will ask you for this. If not, just make sure they are aware that you can have a separate storage location for production as well. Then we have having separate storage location for production. So for availability check for outbound, we always store finished products here just to exclude our search into other storage location.
What sets ZaranTech apart in SAP corporate training? It's our unique blend of expertise and innovation. We offer customized courses tailored to each client's needs, ensuring relevant, targeted learning. Our vast trainer database brings you wisdom from the best in the field. Need resources? Access our extensive training material repository anytime. We are all about measurable results, providing detailed student metrics to track progress. And we don't just teach, we build community. Join our thriving social media network, connecting learners beyond boundaries. With ZaranTech, you are not just training, you are transforming your SAP expertise.
You have just kept one storage location for finished product. Okay, you can, it's not mandatory, you can also keep it as same as AFS. You can keep the same, but there's no special requirement. Just for traceability purpose, if somebody wants to track all the finished product in their IM reports, then we know we have a separate storage location where you can get all the finished product stock. It basically helps on the IM reporting. I go to storage location 4000 and I get everything.
Yeah. Just only the disadvantage, I think, that data maintenance activity, the housekeeping activity, bit more. Like all material need to extend it to all storage location, as well as the bill of material should be The consumption should happen from storage location 3000.
Consumption will happen. Yeah. So this has to be, well thought and well agreed at the start of the project, because later on bringing this change will have a lot of impact on master data, transactional data, all documents, work in progress documents. So we need to be clear exactly how this has to work. Okay.
Yogan, I have one question here.
Yes.
See, if you talk about this master data level, see, actually, many of the business scenarios handling the GMID and LMID master data, actually, that is a customs. But how the business scenarios are handling the GMID master data from ERP to EWM? Whether any separate logic available for GMID creates and change for product from ERP through BADI, or how it is?
GMID, I didn't get it.
Global GMID is a global material number. So actually, some of the specific business, actually, they want global. LMID is our SAP material number. But GMID is a global material number which can use in a globally.
Okay.
There is a custom Mara table. In Mara, actually, we have custom field. Actually, we maintain the GMID against GMID is the SAP local material number.
Yeah. So you have to do the same. See, basically the material is same.
Okay.
So when you create a material, if you have a custom field of GMID, okay. So now here probably you can use a different field, but here the challenge will be when you scan. Are you going to scan the SAP ID or a GMID when you are
SAP ID?
Yeah, then it's fine. EWM will still store your GMIDs, but you want to use your SMIDs.
Yeah, that I got your point. But see, when in WM level, when the material replicate from ERP to EWM, in EWM we consider a product, right? See, how will correlate between GMID and LMID?
See, if it is decentralized system, you also need to do the same custom field in product as well. If it is embedded, you can refer the same field in Metal Master because it's the same system. So you can use the same Metal Master Z field and you can refer that for your whatever custom process you have. But if it is a decentralized, then you have to send it across. You have to do some enhancement in your SIF and
SIF. Yeah, we need to do enhancement SIF. Okay, got your point. And one more, this packing instruction and packing
specifications.
Actually, how handling in EWM? Actually, the same WM process, or how it is?
No, it's different. We'll discuss that in master data.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so we have 5 more minutes. I will take a pause here. Okay, so we are going to create 4 storage location plant. We'll do that. Okay, and I think the first thing we'll do is create our plant and storage location and the 2 warehouse, ERP and EWM warehouse. We will spend some time. We will first identify, for our batch, what is the data that we're going to set up. Okay, so we know what is the store location, but we put some naming convention for our batch. And just to add, since we're using S4HANA, you can also use Fiori. This is the Fiori link, and you can also, these are the Fiori apps that we are going to use for EWM. So if you want to add them to your Fiori homepage, you can do them as part of your preparatory activity while you're getting ready for the scenarios. Okay.
So when you are running the session, can we do that, Rohan? It's more about practice, right? Getting yourself friendlier with this Fiori. So never worked on the Fiori. So that was, when you are creating STOs or purchase order, outbound delivery, if we just request, if we possible, it's more getting practice to the screen, familiar.
Yeah, we will go through the Fiori as well. Yeah. So we have all the apps listed. For me, it's already added, but you have to do it for your own user ID. I'm saying you have to go to login to Fiori and search these apps and add them as favorites so that you don't have to all the time search them.
So it is not possible something the basis team can support us initially. We don't want to go on or struggle, once we have the setup, that will be the next step to look up.
Your basis team will give you all the access. You will find them.
Okay.
But I'll explain you when we go to the Fiori. I'm just saying for ease of, so you have all these. Basically, we create a group in Fiori group where we have all the apps, commonly used app at one place. my recommendation here was to take these apps, because these are the apps you're going to use for EWM, keep them separate. But you have all the access there. You'll have a EWM group where you'll have all the apps of EWM, all the apps of MMs. So leave that to me. I'll show you, and then you can start setting it up for yourself. Okay.
Yeah, one more question here. Sorry to interrupt. See, actually, this batch management and split delivery split. Actually, this topic you are going to cover, right? Full batch management topics you are going to cover, right?
Yes. We'll be covering batch management, delivery split, everything.
So this batch characteristic, when we do the GR, just it's not. I think so. That batch characteristic, we capture that on the EWM side. It is right now, like in ECC, when I do the GR in Vigo, right? I can capture the batch characteristic values, maybe country of origin or temperature, or So when we do it in EWM, I know that we perform the good receipt on scanner. So still we can capture that, right, over there.
No, standard does not have that option.
Okay.
When you create a delivery, it is expected when you get an ASN from your vendors, it should have all the batch characteristics and batch number should be there. But if you want, you will have to customize.
I'm referring to the classification system, like the batch class.
Yes. So batch class is there, but when you create a batch, you need these values, right? The characteristics value.
Yes.
So the batch, so it basically during the batch creation, it gets captured. So the batch creation, the standard SAP recommendation is do it as part of a delivery creation when you create a delivery.
Okay, not at the time of GR.
Not at the time of the GR.
Okay, got you. Thank you.
One more question here. Actually, the classification data is master data, right? How it will happen when the time of goods receipt?
No, see, each batch has its own, its own characteristic values. For example, you get a batch with country of origin is Germany. So when you do the receipt, you need to tell it's German originated batch.
Okay, but the characteristics all configured in master data level, right?
Yeah, that is already configured. You'll have a batch class, material will be extended to the class.
Okay.
So based on the class, it will be asked.
Okay. See, when we do goods receipt, we have to enter the country of origin. Based on that, system places data from master data, right?
Yeah.